So I've been sort of AWOL this second half of the year. My bad. I'd like to apologize because I've been working a lot more at my job, raising money for new life changes, getting a new car, other things like that, because mine's about to explode or something, I don't know. So sadly, this video is probably going to be as minimal as possible, just because I have no time right now to work on videos. But hey, I wasn't a total slacker in the movie biz, because I saw a whole whopping 2 other movies this year. One of them being on Max, which, why did they get rid of the HBO part in Max? Isn't that the whole point? And it's like just turning something like Disney Plus to just, I don't know, Plus? It's very confusing. I saw the follow-up to Mad Max Fury Road, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, which was a solid movie. I like that a lot. And then I saw the infamous Joker Folie à Deux, which no wonder there's so many jokes of Joker Folie à Doo-Doo. I actually saw that movie in a theater and recorded a whole video for it. And it's ready. It's pretty much ready. I just haven't released it. And that might be something I'll do in the future so you can hear more of my raw thoughts on it. But yeah, not good. But yeah, it's like 2 movies versus like the other 12 I saw the other half of the year. So quite a step down from a production standpoint. But I again just wanted to show up for my annual tradition of coming out of hibernation to celebrate the year, the best of the movies, just what happened with movies. It's an end of year video. Here we are back again, probably the most minimalist one yet. Starting off, I gotta talk about the worst movie of the year, which is, Joker Folie à Doo-Doo. I touched more on this in my unreleased Joker review, so go check that out. And oh, never mind, I never released it. So look out for that. But wow, basically, I was on board for parts of this movie, but then it plummets. It plummets a ton in ways that are so dumb. So incredibly dumb. Like, it makes it basically the most pointless sequel of all time, because the reviews I saw before seeing the movie were saying that it feels like a prologue to the first movie, and I saw it more as like this forum, like a forum page of different types of people talking about the first movie. Like the defense is saying Arthur is innocent, and the split personality Joker is to blame. The prosecution says he's making up the disease and needs to be held responsible for everything. And Harley Quinn and the ones inspired by Joker just love him and think what he did was okay and that the victims got what they deserved. I think it represents the major groups of people that came out of watching that first movie, which I thought was such a cool concept, but then they just handle it not that great. Then it feels like it's going to ramp up to something, but the director's like, haha, jokes. Like, if the whole thing is a joke, this whole movie, then that makes sense, because, wow, good job. You wasted everybody's time. But yeah, the end of the movie, it's horrible. They wasted so much stuff. There's so much material they came up with. It was like, we made this epic first movie, and now let's just say, screw the first movie. It's not worth anything. Let's make this movie duology completely pointless. But yeah, I'm done talking about it. Let's get into some more positive stuff with my top 5 movies of 2024. My 5th best movie of this year was Radio Silence's non-Scream movie, Abigail. For those who didn't watch the review or don't know what it is, it's about a group of kidnappers who capture a little girl named Frances and bring her to a safe house. I'm just kidding. That's Abigail. She's Abigail. Little did they know they actually have been trapped with a little ballerina vampire, and they must survive the night and escape. I really liked the cast. This is a really good ensemble film, with each character having their own little quirks and points of humor, and layers of their character are slowly shed across the runtime. So I felt pretty invested in their stories, especially the lead played by Marissa Barrera, returning from the director's previous films, Scream and Scream 6. This movie is not just a gore fest, though there are plenty of those effects too. There's actually a nice spooky atmosphere at the safe house they're staying at, which turns out to be more of a mansion with dark winding corridors and detailed Gothic architecture that really gives off the classic haunted house vibes. I could imagine Scooby-Doo and the gang using the spot on the weekends, if you know what I'm saying. There's a lot of fun writing, as Radio Silence is good at striking that perfect balance of humor and suspense. And Abigail's actress Alicia Ware is a standout, as she perfectly captures a centuries-old being in the shape of a seemingly 12-year-old girl, expertly shifting between that helpless girly mask and a ferocious beast underneath. She's great. So yeah, this movie is quite entertaining, and I can't wait to see where the team of Radio Silence takes their next work. I'm hoping it's more original films like this.
in their post-Scream years. The fourth best movie to me is a movie I did not cover. I did not review this movie. It is Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. As I said earlier, I ended up catching this movie, which was on my most anticipated 2024 list. Plug, go watch that. But I saw it quite a bit after its release in theaters on the streaming service Max, which kind of sucks because this definitely feels like a movie theater experience movie with its colorful, though mostly light orange world and epic high-octane action. George Miller is just fantastic at building this world and bringing it back to life since the last time we went roaring across the wasteland in 2015's Fury Road. The way he has characters interact with their surroundings and have to make do with what's left from the apocalypse is so interesting. I especially like it when characters have to improvise with scraps they find around them, like using them to fix up a broken bike while being chased or MacGyvering weapons together. They do some pretty creative things. I think the action is incredible, just like the previous movie, in which that movie made the good decision to do everything practically. I believe this one has a little more CGI and visual effects than the previous. I mean, I think this was shot during the pandemic, so, understandable. But Miller blends these more special effects very well, where it was much better seeing it in the movie as opposed to the trailers, which made it look more cartoony to me in comparison to Fury Road. Anya Taylor-Joy is great as always and does a lot with her eyes, as she's a pretty quiet character but tells so much through those expressions, and using those iconic eyes for good use. But this movie is especially special as it features Chris Hemsworth actually playing quite a different character than we're used to seeing him playing. Yeah, there's no Thor here, quite the opposite. Hemsworth is such a weaselly psychopath who displays pure lunacy, and he really disappears into the role, which is awesome to see him do. The movie is very long. It is split up in chapters, though I ended up watching it in 2 sittings and thought it was paced pretty well, with a constant momentum to the story and action. Would definitely recommend it. Probably one of the most slept on movies of the year, commercially. Next up at number 3, I have Deadpool and Wolverine. Now, it's one thing to watch this as another MCU movie, even another to watch a third Deadpool movie as his introduction into mentioned universe. But watching this as a culmination and farewell of the Fox X-Men movies is something else entirely. Yeah, I rewatched all the Fox X-Men movies except New Mutants and Deadpool 2. That first X-Men trilogy was in fairly heavy rotation in my childhood, when the best Marvel movies were those movies and the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films. And that payoff is worth it in my opinion. The little montage during the end credits of behind the scenes of this corner of the early modern superhero era made me tear up. I got emotional because it's just, we come a long way, and those first X-Men movies were part of my childhood. This film is a great celebration of pre-MCU Marvel past, and I love it for that. To see Hugh Jackman return and in the famous yellow suit was a long time coming. I mean, they almost did it in one of the Fox movies, or they hinted at it, but then they got scared or something. They were like, no one wants to see a banana man walking around. And Jackman's real-life friendship with Ryan Reynolds translates well into Wolverine and Deadpool's chemistry, which works fantastically. While there are a couple more sloppy action sequences in comparison, most of the action scenes are spectacular, especially the opening scene with Deadpool, the TVA, and a very dead Logan. It was so creative and fun to witness. That scene is great. The climax of the movie is something special though, as the themes of mattering and not mattering fuse together physically in the form of matter and antimatter for Wolverine and Deadpool's story arcs respectively, in what I think is one of the most epic scenes to show up in a Marvel movie. It's full of emotion and power for a movie that's mostly filled with unserious, raunchy humor and over-the-top violence, let's be honest. If you've seen it, you know. It's a scene I'll want to watch forever, over and over again. Though some of the quality of the movie's writing is not fantastic, whether it comes to the okay to occasionally alright villain, to the fact that it's kind of hard to believe that the same Deadpool from the previous movies would be this insecure to make the plot happen. Other than that, it's definitely one of the best MCU movies since Endgame, and might be up there as the best superhero multiverse movie yet. I loved the cameos, and they were actual characters with a purpose in the film, not just, oh, I know that reference. So for that, they did a great job. Wow. At number 2 is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I was honestly a bit worried when the continuation of the 2010s prequel Planet of the Apes trilogy was going to happen, which that trilogy might be legit one of the best trilogies of all time, by the way. Like, you'd be shocked. And it was in the hands of Disney, who now owns 20th Century Fox. So, especially with Marvel's CGI problem, I thought the same might be applied to the new Apes films, but I was pleasantly surprised. The visual effects are just as good as the previous films and may even exceed them in certain areas. And the director Wes Ball, behind the Maze Runner films, impressed me with his ability to world build in this centuries later sequel to the Caesar story. I also really liked the story they told, which starts pretty simple as the ape named Noah must track down his tribe, but the ideologies of Caesar and what the apes think he stood for come to a head as different parts of his legend and legacy clash against each other in this new age of apes. The motion capture performances throughout are excellent, as they've perfectly grasped the animalistic ape side and their now more human-like developments, and you can see all the emotions on their faces. Quite impressive work for everyone involved. It's a spectacular journey full of adventure and tension, and I can't wait to see what they do with the sequels. Still crazy to me that they're retroactively making the 2010s trilogy the first of 3 modern trilogies. That's a total of 9 movies, so I can't wait to see what they do with this 5th film. And I'm wondering if this will all lead up into a remake of the original Planet of the Apes and its first 2 sequels. If it's the same team as this movie, we are in good hands, or monkey paws. Oh, comedy. And now at number 1. It's kind of poetic. It was the first film that kicked off my 2024 review era, which is Dune Part 2. And it totally deserves it. This film is a modern cinematic epic that made me feel like I was experiencing film history. It has such a grandeur to it that I'd imagine this is what it felt like for audiences to experience Ben-Hur or the early Star Wars films. There's such a scope to this movie that we don't really get much of anymore. There are so many amazing scenes in this film that I'm sure will become iconic, whether it's the opening scene with the blood red moon look to every frame, to the giant worm riding scene, to the climactic duel. Everything fits together so well in this film. Denis Villeneuve brings such a scale to the world that is built out so well through the characters and settings. The world building is tremendous. It feels like a breathing world that lives in a far-off future ripe with character and life. Pretty much everyone does a great and convincing job as their characters. I wish there's a little more of Austin Butler's villain, personally, but everyone disappears into their roles and does a great job. Everyone plays their part well. The story is great and winding and easier to follow than the previous film, and the pace is well sequenced throughout its long runtime. I found a lot of emotion amongst its grandness, and the turn characters took kept me in suspense. Did not know this was the story of Dune. It's kind of crazy. It's such a satisfying movie and deserves all accolades it will probably get. This is a movie I can see with certainty it will become a modern classic. There's no way. There's nothing quite like this movie these days. And here's to hoping we get Dune Messiah sooner rather than later, because you need to finish up the story, Denise. But yeah, that was my top 5-ish movies of 2024. A late addition / honorable mention is Sonic the Hedgehog 3. I saw that movie while making this review, and that's pretty solid. It's definitely top 6 movies for me. I'd have to look at, if I'd seen it sooner, it may have cracked the top 5. It's a solid movie. You guys should go see that film. In fact, I'm going to try to do a review soon enough for that. And then Nosferatu came out. That was one of my top anticipated films of the year, and I just didn't get to it, so it did not make this list, but I hope to see that soon and review it as well. So there's a lot of potential in that one to be in the top 5 as well. But yeah, what was your guys' favorite film of 2024? What do you think of my list? Is it good? Is it stinky? Let me know down below. But yeah, I'm trying to work on a most anticipated for 2025 list, which is going pretty interesting. And I'm going to try to get out that Sonic the Hedgehog 3 review, most likely. I'm going to say it here, knock on wood. I have enough time to do it, but we'll see what happens. This has been just another reviewer saying farewell to 2024 and hello 2025.